It's strange, right? Good evening. Welcome to a very special installment of the MBTV Debates Rui Cunha Foundation series. And this is one that carries a special meaning because obviously we are about to celebrate the 25th anniversary of the Macau SAR. And we bring together a distinguished panel of guest speakers, of heads of the city's leading international chambers of commerce. And we are joined by friends and members of the community here at Rui Cunha Foundation for this important conversation. What are we talking about? Well, what brings us here is in Macau SAR 25 and beyond, taking the pulse of the city's economy. The city obviously is about to celebrate the quarter century after the handover, and also is preparing to welcome the sixth term government on the 20th of December. Over the past year, post-pandemic recovery gained steam, gained momentum, with gaming and tourism rebounding strongly, yet the recovery remains uneven as SMEs struggle to keep pace with rapid changes driven by regional integration. This installment is a joint collaboration between Macau Business and MBTV and Rui Cunha Foundation. I would like to welcome you all and to introduce our distinguished panel of guest speakers. And let me start by telling you that we are joined by those here on stage and also by friends from other chambers of commerce who kindly joined us here at Rui Cunha Foundation. Without further ado, let me start by introducing our speakers. We have Charles Choi, Chairman of the American Chamber of Commerce in Macau. Billy Chan, Chairman of Australian Chamber of Commerce in Macau. Keith Buckley, Chairman of British Chamber of Commerce in Macau. We have Rutger Berthusen, Chairman of the France-Macau Chamber of Commerce. Rui Pedro Cunha, President of the Macau European Chamber of Commerce. And last not the least, this is by alphabetical order of the English name of the chambers, Carlos Cid Alvares, President of the Portugal-China Chamber of Commerce and Industry Macau Delegation. We're also joined today by friends from other chambers I will be introducing once we also have some other guests arriving, but I can let you know that we're joined here by representatives and leaders of the Irish Chamber of Commerce in Macau, Canadian Chamber of Commerce in Macau, also Belgium-Luxembourg Chamber of Commerce in Hong Kong and Macau, Austrian Chamber of Commerce in Hong Kong and Macau, and other business associations and community representatives. Let me start by bringing Carlos into the conversation. The floor is yours. The Portugal-China Chamber of Commerce and Industry is the oldest one here, the one with the longer roots here. The Macau delegation was established in 1992, and the chamber itself, if I'm not getting it wrong, was in 1978.
Correct.
Okay, my memory serves me well. Carlos, Macau SAR 25. If you have to single out a major achievement, looking back, and today, challenge, what would you have to tell us? What's your 2 cents on this?
Thank you so much, Jé. Congratulations, Fundação Rui Cunha. Hello, my colleagues from the other chambers. So, great achievement. I think one of them is for sure the GDP per capita. That is one of the toppest in the world. But I could say also that Macau is one of the finest cities in the world to live. I travel a lot in my professional life, and in the end, I feel that Macau is really one of the nicest places to stay because it's completely safe, it's friendly, it's almost, the taxes are very friendly also.
The taxis, not the
Yeah,
taxis.
yeah,
Taxi.
yeah,
Yes.
but it's a very convenient city. We can do a lot of things in the morning, a lot of things in the afternoon. So school, family, house, office, it's really amazing.
Walking distance, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah,
beautiful.
yeah. Challenge,
Yes.
of course.
So many, but
Yeah.
you're the one to to kickstart the conversation on challenges.
Yeah.
What would you like to highlight?
We are going to have a new government soon, and for sure they know what they are going to do in the near future. But I think we need to give more opportunities to the youngest. I think it's a big challenge. I think we need more people in Macau. I think Macau can have at least 1 million people. I think we need more companies here in Macau to give better jobs to other people, not only on the casinos, on the integrated resorts, but on different areas, and I think this is possible.
Thank you, Carlos. Rui, more people, investment, talent, new ideas. We are sitting at a key juncture. What would you like to share with us?
Yes. Yeah, good
Yeah,
afternoon, and
thank you.
thank you for the invitation. If we look back at these 25 years, I agree with Carlos. Getting the second highest GDP per capita in the world is indeed an achievement, a big achievement for Macau SAR. I think we're all proud of what Macau has been done. Macau also showcased the one country, two systems and showed that it actually works and people live here happily. I think that's the major achievement. Looking forward, the major challenge I think we have is diversification. It's not a new challenge. It's been with us for more than 30 years, so even older than Macau SAR. And doing that diversification requires people coming from outside. I'm sure we're going to talk more about that later on.
Oh, definitely. The D word. And when we will have a D day of diversification, I mean. Rutger, what are your 2 cents on the achievements plus challenges conversation?
Well, first of all, I really echo what
Yeah.
Carlos said. Macau is a fantastic place to live. I live in many places in Asia, and I think Macau is really has it all actually on a very small footprint. But I think what I would like to share is that the main achievement is that Macau has finally made it to the world map. I think people across the world have heard of it. Not everyone has been here yet, but that's coming slowly. But I think we have made great efforts in moving forward, putting Macau on the map, and maybe it is all due to the gaming. That's why we're on the map, and that's going to change. So that's the next chapter, turning the page. So the first 25 years, it's about gaming, clearly, and just a few years ago, we start talking about diversification. So that's the next page of the book, next chapter, and it's all going to be about diversification. But I think what is really moving, is going to be a game changer for us, is the integration of Hengqin.
Yes.
I mean, you said Macau is too small, need 1 million people. I would say where? Maybe start with a reformation of the old Macau. There's all the buildings falling apart, and I feel sad for the people who live there, but hopefully there can be a program to make new housing for them. But the integration of Hengqin should bring the solution. Hengqin is the hinterland of Macau and is the engine to support Macau, and it is going a bit slow. So, but maybe you have more questions about that later on.
Of course. Yeah, this is to lay the ground for the more specific discussion. Thank you, Rutger. Keith, gaming, diversification, Hengqin, people,
Yes,
GDP.
I think everything's been said. It's just like a train moving,
Yes.
and we're just adding bits to it. So for me, I guess the biggest achievement was probably, we're talking about the GDP, but it's caused by the gaming. And so the biggest change was to stop the monopoly of the gaming and introduce the new gaming concessions back in 2002, which then created all these new venues, the Cotai Strip, and that created so much. It created jobs, it created supply chain, it created everything, and gave a new dimension. I mean, I arrived here 2002, and it was pretty quiet until those casinos burst onto the scene. And if that hadn't have happened, of course, I wonder what we'd be looking at now. So there's been certainly a lot of change as a result of that. I would also just add in, as a driver from that, the gaming drivers, the infrastructure has improved over the years. Over 25 years. It's still got a long way to go, but it's moving there. That's a good benefit for the people. The challenge, I think, I would align with Rutger, is Henshin is there. My feeling is that when I go to Henshin, I think, oh, it's beautiful. It's got landscaping. It's got wide roads. So as the young people move over there and there's employment, Macau itself is going to suffer unless they do something with these buildings, the old town. My office is Bank of China, and I look out the back over the whole area, and so there's a lot to do. And of course, to do it, you have to move people as well. So you don't just build new buildings; you have to move them somewhere. So I think that's a challenge, because I think people will maybe they prefer Henshin later. The young people, once they get in their blood. So I think integration with Henshin and using Henshin as the vehicle is also going to be a challenge. And if Henshin builds lots of hotels and people stay in those hotels, does Macau suffer itself? So we will see.
Thank you, Keith. Billy, GDI, Gaming Diversification Integration?
I'm not in the gaming industry, so...
Yes, but I mean the last quarter of century, and where we stand in the future.
Yeah.
And also maybe education, because we've seen great developments, right?
First of all, thank you for organizing this.
Thank you.
Mean, we should do it more than once a year.
Yes. Yes.
MBTV got a good name now.
Thank
So it's lovely to have people, even my daughter is listening to it now in Melbourne,
Hello.
so it's a good thing. Things are moving forward, as you can see after COVID. 31 million tourists, yeah? And gross revenue hitting to 28 billion US dollars. So big numbers. Connectivity, I must say this region is second to none. If you travel from here to Hangzhou to Guangzhou, which many of you have done it, and the connectivity, 5G, no interruption at all between cities, not just roads, train, also your phone, so you can conduct your business pretty easily. And this is the plus issues and good thing that we have today in this region. For the first time, we have all the Trade Commission officers came to Macau from Australia, and also there's the officers from Chengdu, Chongqing, Beijing, even Taipei, Hong Kong came here. We had big meetings. Just a week ago, we had Hong Kong, Macau, and Southern China. All the chambers leaders, we met together. So it's good to have this opportunity that Macau is serving as a bridge, to bridge not just the SAR, also the Greater Bay Area. But one thing I want to see things to be more improved in terms of the healthcare area.
Yeah.
And as you know, I run a medical school, and I'm a co-founder of the first medical school in Macau. How to utilizing our talents and how to really move a step forward to a bigger player in research, not just in certain niche area, but as a whole, public health, and utilize our talent cleverly, because we still have issues that some of the overseas professors working in our faculty, they only got a one-year blue card. Things has to be improved and got to be a bit more user-friendly in terms of having talent to stay, keeping your talent here, and also searching talents elsewhere. So that's my two bob worth.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you very much. Charles, talking about building, it reminds us the motto, build it and they'll come. And this is what happened 2 decades ago. We built, the drivers behind the integrated resorts, the new investors and incumbents, they built and people came. How about today? And what would you like to highlight? Yes.
Well, thanks for organizing this again. I agree with Billy that we should be doing more than once per
Yeah.
year. But anyway, from AmCham's perspective, as you know, we have a quite heavy investment density from U.S. in Macau, and we have 3 major casinos who are running integrated resorts here in Macau. And so, from my point of view, it would be we have. First of all, say goodbye to a monopoly back 25 years ago. And then we have entered into the phase 1 of diversification. We've been talking about it. It's a tough work. It's not easy. I mean, because gaming is easy money, and we all know that. So I see that our members or the government, we've been working very closely together, including our chamber, on how to mobilize the effort of our players in facilitating what we most need in Macau in terms of, fixing some places on the diversification. Obviously, this is government's work, government's job. We all know that, and our members were quite designed to involve. And I could share with you one information that by being a member of the election committee, I have suggested to the CE-elect, Mr. Sam, that perhaps the gaming sectors could do more than just helping. For example, and I'll jump to that one question that I believe Jose would be asking, would be the FDI.
Yes.
I think what the integrated resorts or the connections are good at would be to create related or relevant industries surrounding this integrated resorts. We have we are to be the humblest, the biggest integrated resort hub in the world.
Yes.
And we have many opportunities here, and we have created some diversification in elements. Of course, it could be just not in numbers yet, but I think there are good ways. We have concerts, we have world-class entertainments, we have world-class sports, we have NBA coming next year, and some shows. So we have created that framework. Of course, still gaming-driven, but I think what more our U.S. members can do is utilizing their connections. For example, in area, for example, the low altitude aerospace economy, which I think China is promoting quite a bit. That is related to the integrated resort business, and that's not gaming, and that's what they're good at. And I think many people think the same. So Boeing has been approaching AmCham quite recently for the possibility of that, and we have referred them to our members to see. And I have also talked about this to our CE-elect, that it might be a way where we can put our members in good use, besides helping out in the society, in the communities, which is also important, of course.
Thank you very much, Charles. And I would stay with you for the follow-up question now on something that is it's got to do with what you were sharing with us. You're a member of the Chief Executive Election Committee, and you have had opportunity to express some points of view in that respect as well. But the question is, if you have the CE designates year, and you gotta suggest, and you have the opportunity of suggesting a single or specific measure, what would come across your mind? Probably you have already done this at AmCham and with some friends, right?
Well, there are actually 3 points that I suggested, and some on newspaper. And I think the point that I like most is I'll do a little advertisement for AmCham. We have a program coming up, a forum coming up on December 4th called Ask China in collaboration with the CGTN. It will be broadcast globally. So we hope that we can use this platform to introduce Macau, especially in the economic development. Macau being part of China, this is what we are. And there will be speakers from the NPC and also CPPCC members. U.S. investor Win this time will be representing AmCham to talk, and also our leaders of our foreign chambers will be participating, and Roy and Carlos.
Yes.
So we hope that we can start a platform like this to create an atmosphere and also an information flow where people might be willing to just like Carlos and Roy, want to make Macau home, a place where they can work and a place where they can have their family grown up. So,
Yes.
so that would be the another point.
The other point. Thank you, Charles. Now, Billy, you were talking about the blue card system. I mean, it's a recurring issue, but I believe you would like to see improvements, big strides in that respect, right, for talent. Would I be right? Would you suggest something along these lines to the chief executive elect, designate, or to the incoming secretary for economy?
Yes, talent programs important. I mean, just like any countries. I mean, like we have our own Australian talent program, and Macau, for instance, we have a good program, but sometimes in practice, you get all these people. They have a Nobel Peace Prize 40 years ago. I mean, yeah, he's a talent, but is that much useful today? For instance, we do medical research and having enough teachers and lecturers for our medical school students. We have to scratch around just to go to Malaysia, go to Singapore, and ask people to come to Macau to work. They first of all looked at the infrastructure. They looked at the salary, of course. And most medical schools, even in Hong Kong, I mean, they have a lot of overseas professors. They offer them a 3-year package. So they're able to move their families to the region to live with them and work, so they can work, focus on his work and research. But here in Macau, I think maximum you only get 2 years blue card. I have professors still today receiving a 1-year blue card. He's not able, or she's not able to bring a family over. So they work for a year and they go back. We lose these amazing talents. And if we don't change this policy, you will never get good people over. I'm not talking about Nobel, some super scientists or Elon Musk level. We're not talking about that. We're talking about good biochemistry experts or teachers and good doctors and nurses, experts that we need today here. That's something I want to see they change, and also the rigmarole, the red tape, the amount of time to wait to get that blue card to come to work. I recently lost one. It's Billy, too hard. I'm not waiting for another 2 more months. I'm going to Kuwait or Abu Dhabi or somewhere else that they offer a similar salary package and less red tape. And that's something I want to say. Yeah.
Thank you, Billy. Keith. It's a highly competitive environment in terms of vying for a highly skilled talent. Would you prioritize that, or would you like to specify something else? If you're sitting, you're talking to the chief executive elect, and you suggest
I've got 2 things. I think I agree with Billy that I remember when we did this talk last year, we talked on the same subject, and what you have to think outside of Macau, because you're talking to the world. You're saying, please come to Macau, but that guy has got he's got a choice. He can go to Hong Kong, Singapore, as you say. He can go to Abu Dhabi. So you've got to give him some incentive to come here and some certainty. If you don't, you might get talent, but you won't get the best talent. You're going to get the second rate, the one who's going to accept Macau as opposed to the best place on earth. So I think it's very important, and that would then lead on to another thing. Before I came to Macau, I've been here 21 years actually. I came for 1 year, and I had lived in Singapore before that. And when I came to Macau, I thought, Macau's like Singapore. It's a city-state, and it's going to be really organized, you see. But at that time, it wasn't as organised as it is now. But the one thing in my construction life I find is in the other places that I've worked, the governments have got this sort of will to approve things, to get things over the line. And I always say to people, whatever anybody does, if it opens a restaurant, builds a hotel, they're doing it for the good of the people. They're doing it for Macau, and the government is the one that should be trying very hard to get it over the line. How many restaurants do you see with a name that's covered with a red banner, and it's not just for a few days, it could be months because it didn't get its license? And I know in all the buildings I've been involved on the Cotai Strip, the length of time it takes to get a license, to get approval. And in other places, the government has a charter. I will get you this approval in a month. That's the way they work. Okay, it doesn't always work, but here we don't have that at all. It's just at the will of the people. So I guess those are my two messages. Yes.
Thank you, Keith. Rutger, you have the ear of the Chief Executive Designate or the future Secretary for Economy, and you have the chance of suggesting something, a specific policy and measure. And I also would like you to comment on, you're confident that the next 5 years will be quite important to tackle and move things forward, right?
Well, sure. The top man is a top judge.
Yes.
So the judgment should be correct. So based on the right judgment, we can move mountains. So having said that, I think the first priority is to improve livelihood of the people. But that doesn't come by itself. That's just a sort of yell, like, okay, improve the livelihood. But it has to come. So how can we do that? I think the essence is it goes back to the government, frankly speaking. The efficiency, the capability, the quality, the service mindset, the efficiency, the optimization, the reformation of the government departments. Not to single out any of them, to be politically correct here, but just all of this together. I mean, those of us who work in business, you know that you often be sent from one department to the other department, and even within the department, sometimes you don't get the right help. And it's not always because the attitude is not there. It's just because the systems are too old, or they don't know, or it's someone else's problem and it's not their problem. And I think this has to be fixed. And in the the current administration, that is already on the to-do list, but I'm not quite sure whether we have really made some changes there. But for this designated CE is on the agenda, as I read, and I have high hopes that because of the right judgment, that there will be a right decision made on how to do that. And if we have this system in place, everything else will just roll. The legal system too. And at the moment, young people who studied abroad, from Macanese people who studied abroad, come back to work here. They said, "Wow, what can I do here? I'm almost too good to work here because they don't have jobs for me." The innovation is being halted because of regulations that not allow to work. Just today you heard, for example, telemedicine, which is surgery by remote control, which is done over the world. In Macau, they said, sorry, not allowed. And there's a lot of other things that are not allowed here because the law is not allowing it. So change the law. So the new CE is you should know, right? I think as a top judge. So start working on making those new laws, new regulations to be ready for the new chapter, as I just said. Changing the page, we talk diversification. Well, then you got to change the regulations first. And to change the regulations, you need to have a good system, a platform, which is the government administration as a whole, to make those changes. So it's a big job. But we met him together here. Most of us, we met when he was still campaigning. And yes, I would definitely vote for him. He was very keen to listen to our problems. He was candid. He made comments, and he was actually asking more questions based on our questions and suggestions. So yeah, thumbs up.
Thank you, Rutger. Rui, you were also, and Carlos, some of you were also in that meeting. If you want to share something about your expectations, and also, and you have listed out several suggestions. Maybe you want to single out a couple of them.
Yes, I would single out the talent plan. It's one of the major issues we talked about in that meeting. And you've heard almost everyone here talk about the talent question. I think that's really a cornerstone for us. I think the current talent plan is good. It was just launched last year, but it's not enough. It starts from a wrong premise. It starts from a premise that everyone wants to come to Macau, so we need to make it difficult for people to come. And we need to filter everyone to make sure that we are getting the best. This is what the premise for the talent plan, and the premise is wrong. We need to be attracting people. I remember 2 years ago, we were here in this room in November also.
Yes.
And there was the same question. At that time, the talent plan had not been published yet. And I remember saying 2 years ago, before attracting people, we need to allow them to come, because we're not allowing them to come to Macau. Now we have a talent plan, but I think we're still not attracting people. We're not there yet. We need to make it much easier for people to apply. We need to let the talent know that there is a talent plan, and that this works much faster than it is working right now. Billy was talking about the teachers and the professors. That's a very big challenge. Highly skilled professionals want to come to Macau. They find it interesting. So people like Billy managed to convince them to come to Macau, and then they don't come to Macau because they're not allowed to, or they get a blue card. This really has to change, and it's a mindset change.
We have the 1+4 plan and strategy. Some observers have pointed out that there's a risk of this being a sort of straitjacket in a way if you look at this with rigidity. I don't know if you want to comment on this or to elaborate.
You mean the
on
1+4?
Yes, I mean the approach to, in terms of the talent attraction scheme, there are designated areas, but the 1+4 as a sort of a guideline and direction, but not in a way that will narrow the path, but widen the path.
Yeah, the talent plan does focus on those 4 areas, and I think it makes sense to focus on those areas, because those are the areas that the government decided that we should diversify, but it should not be restricted to those areas. Should have some latitude for other people that want to come to Macau, or that one of us can convince to come to Macau, and actually be able to come here and get residency, and eventually, after living here for 7 years and being a useful member of society, to become a permanent resident.
Thank you. Carlos, would like to comment on, of course, all of this conversation, and I would like to highlight a suggestion that you have been voicing in recent years, which concerns turning Macau into a hub or a mini hub for regional headquarters of multinationals, and how to move in that direction. I believe you have suggested this, right?
Yeah, Jose. To say something a little bit different from my colleagues, I think Macau can be the right place to attract this holding of multinationals. They don't compete with the local business. They give jobs, they pay taxes, they diversify the economy. They need lawyers, they need premises for the CEOs or CFOs, they need restaurants because they eat. They need banks, sorry. They need lawyers, they need everything. And I think we are the right place to attract this holding of multinationals, because we have a very friendly tax environment. We have a very safe place, and these CEOs and CFOs of companies look to the safest places in the world. We are in Middle Asia to travel. We have airports 20 minutes from our center of Macau. We have infrastructures, so Macau can be really the hub to attract these entities. Macau has everything there's only one thing that is not playing the right issue, that is the visa permit. So we need to give, or the government should give less uncertainty. I think people are not looking to be permanent residents of Macau because they don't need to be permanent residents of Macau. They need less uncertainty. They need less bureaucracy. They need a tenor of a visa of 3-4 years. And in the end, the government looks to the 3-4 years. What happened? Did you pay taxes? Did you give jobs? And then you take a decision. But I think it could be a game changer for the diversification issue that Macau is running.
Thank you. We have plenty of 2 cents here, suggestions for the upcoming cabinet, which will take office on the 20th of December. I'd like to broaden the conversation. As I was sharing with you at the onset of our session, we are honored by having friends from a number of chambers of commerce, those here on stage, and also those joining us here at Rui Cunha Foundation. And I would like to ask them to share with us views, comments, questions. Niall Murray, chairman of the Irish Chamber of Commerce, Macau. You've also been joining these roundtables, these debates, this conversation. What would you like to highlight? Thank you.
Thank you, Jose, for the invitation. It's great to be here again. The work that we've been doing over the last few years in the chambers, I think, has had a slight impact on what's happening in government. I think that our meeting with Mr. Sam will make a difference. We felt that he was listening to what we had to say. A few of the major points I think that we got across, and I think is very, very important, is some governments around the world have pursued diversification very successfully with implementing an extremely professional body to help assist in this happening. There's got to be a very consolidated strategic plan put together for this diversification, and that should include all stakeholders who are brought in and managed in a professional way on a quarterly basis to work with all the stakeholders in the community to put together something that's very, very detailed, a proper strategy with smart goals, not vague, inconsistent, and very loose goals that seem to be in place at the moment, that get everyone on a very, very important list of tasks that needs to be accomplished in a systematic order to make this happen. This seems not to be the case at the moment. When you look at the 132-page diversification plan, and you look at the goals
that was rolled out a year ago.
It's the goals are very generous. If I was in that role, I wouldn't feel stressed at all. They say try and make the numbers for non-gaming that we had back in 2019. That's not a stretch goal by 2030. I think that needs to be addressed immediately. Second, we got a huge gift from Beijing by being given the gaming industry diversification. We've now been given 4 other industries. That's 4 more gifts. But we need to bring in the professional players in each of those 4 areas to make that happen. So how did it work in IORs? We made it so attractive right next to the market that was going to bring in the revenues that all the top players in the world raced to this market and fought for a license. That needs to happen in the other 4 areas. How are we going to do that? We look at who's the best at those industries around the world, benchmark it, look what incentives are put in place in each of those areas to make them attracted to this area. And then we could become the hub for all these different industries. When it comes to the labor attraction, the cart is before the horse. We're trying to attract these individuals in specific categories without an industry to come to. If you're the top in your field, you're going to look around the world for the top 3 or 4 companies in the world in your industry, and you want to go there. You're not just going to go there and hope they'll follow you. So how would it work in reverse here in Macau? Get the industries here, give them the incentives to be here, and then the talent will follow, but they have to have the infrastructure in place to draw them in. And there are a few examples of this. And I, of course, head of the Irish Chamber of Commerce, I got to talk about the Irish success story. We're a little island off Europe. We're in the European community, but we've done really, really well because we had no main industries, with no manufacturing. We had to jump the services. In many ways, we're similar to Macau. We've got an opportunity to work within Asia and as the one country, two systems partner. That's like the Ireland-European connection. And we made stratospheric improvements over years there, and there's a model in place, and it's being exported to different countries. So we could do well by looking at different examples and following those, but having a proper strategic plan in place with solid goals and very solid accountability.
Thank you, Niall. Thank you. It's actually, this relates to one of the suggestion that Carlos was talking about attracting, being a hub for holdings of regional quarters of multinational companies and being able to attract talent and jobs that way. Let me now bring into the conversation our friends from the Canadian Chamber of Commerce in Macau. We are joined by Crystal Kwan, exactly, and Joyce Francis. Crystal Kwan, Secretary of the Board. Crystal, what would you like to highlight in this conversation?
Thank you for the opportunity. I would like to highlight that, we've discussed a lot about industry and growth for the economy. I work in a school in non-tertiary for the younger generation. So when you're looking at a city and trying to build your workforce for the next, let's say 15 years, right? I have 15 years with the kids from 3 to 18. Going into university, you want to try to build their skill sets so that they can actually enroll in a good university program that can, develop further into their career. Now, bringing those in, I agree the talents for the teachers and training for the students is one thing, but also bringing in the big industries. And, we're very proud to say our students have a really good career path for hospitality and hotel management and tourism, because we're in that environment. So if we're doing those 4 other panels, how are we developing that for someone who's 5 years old right now? And who are the people, who are they interacting with? And who are they seeing in their community as a role model? So I think bringing in, sometimes I think it sounds contentious when you're taking care of your locals and your weak in the society versus bringing in expat. But I think these two things work in tandem, because your economy is better, your whole environment is better, then we see the change and the differences in our next generation.
Thank you, Crystal. Meanwhile, Lorne, Vice President of CanChem, has arrived. We're talking about a great number of things, namely challenges and, of course, suggestions for the coming 5 years in terms of public policies. If you'd like to share something with us, please. Yeah. Or if you would like to ask something.
Selfishly, I was like, the blue card thing, if that can be a little bit easier, that would make my life a lot easier.
Yes. Yes. Maybe on education or on other fronts. Yeah. Thank you, Lauren.
I guess it's the impact of COVID having a lot of expats leaving Macau, and we expected that they would return back to Macau when COVID lifted, but the return has been much slower than we expected. Are you finding the same thing in your industries?
Thank you. So it will be a question for our panel to comment on. Does anyone wants to address this issue of we haven't in terms of catching up with going back to where we were 5 years ago in terms of skilled professionals from overseas. There's still a gap to catch up, right?
Banking industry, Portuguese, I think we have less Portuguese than we had before. That's what's happening. But of course, I think the bank where I work for has 99% the customers are Chinese, so it's a trend. So, but of course, I need to have Portuguese people there also because we are a Portuguese bank. We need to speak English, Cantonese, Mandarin, and of course we need Portuguese skilled people there. And when we need, we try to get them. Maybe it's not so easy as before because nowadays we have that issue that now the Portuguese cannot apply for the permanent ID as before.
Anyone else would like to share on the, please, Keith? Yeah.
I think if you're looking at the expats, you probably need to really try and understand where those expats came from before. So I could say, for instance, 20 years ago, there were lots of expats in construction because there was a lot being built. Then with COVID, they went away, but now we're in an era of no more casinos, so there's a different type of construction. The infrastructure in Macau is there's a lot going on, and what's also changed in 20 years is the contractors are coming from China. So you go to any big project around here, and they're Chinese contractors. And so they don't have expats unless it's a very specific skill. So I think you have to look at exactly where those expats came from. I think to say yes, the expats have not come back as quickly, it's true, but you need to have a look at it. For instance, maybe on a smaller scale, the House of Dancing Water opposite your school had lots of expats. COVID killed it. Now they're coming back, and next year I think there's going to be a show. But so it depends sector by sector to really get into detail of why they're not coming
the
back.
sectors have changed, and the expertise, different expertise is needed now than maybe 10, 15 years ago. What are the areas that you think foreign expertise will be needed?
Billy, you want to join the...
Great question,
Yeah.
by the way. We lost a lot of Australian Chamber members during COVID, but the good news is we gained about 33% this year up. So I'm very happy about that. And also, we have our trade commissioner coming over tomorrow morning, a morning breakfast briefing, 8:30, with the South Australia Government Trade Director. So we have many of these Australian trade officers coming back to Macau to have meetings to know what's been happening. That's the good news. And next week, the Senior Trade Commissioner from Queensland Government also coming over. So I'm slowly attracting those Aussie folks coming back to Macau and take a look what they can do. And just about 2 months ago, I brought about 5 Aussie companies to Hangzhou. They had a look, and they come back to Macau, and they say to me, Billy, Macau's better. Why is that? When I come back to Macau, I feel good. I feel better. So what Carlos says is absolutely right. The multicultural dynamics, the atmosphere, the Portuguese colonial feel and all that stuff, it has got its charm. So I really wish that we can get more of our health care professionals come to Macau to work, to do research. One sad point is I looked at the new Kolowan Hospital right next to the reservoir. I don't want to mention names. There's not much activities there. I mean they're confining, sort of employing the professors from Beijing. So we that's not bad, but I want to see things actually happening instead of just another white elephant or scale down into a small regional medical care facility. So we need to have our expats coming over to conduct those research. Lately, I've been quite lucky to have 3 of these amazing local Macanese went to Britain, graduated from Oxford and Dundee, came back to Macau, and joined our research facilities and also doing a bit of teaching. One thing I've got to touch on about the immigration policy. It's really strange here that if you have a blue card, if you're a medical professor, you're a physician, if you have a blue card to teach, that's fine. But you cannot be a physician to look after a patient. It's really strange. Or if you want to look after a patient, you got to get a proper license. You got to go to a private institute to become the physicians or doctors. Then you can't teach. But you look around all the medical colleges, Harvard, Stanford, you name it, Hong Kong U or Prince of Wales in the CUHK, they teach and they also look after patients. So certain things have to be changed. And I really wish that we have a better secretary for, I'm being very blunt, for the social affairs and, and looking after this particular area. So
we're waiting for the announcement of the new cabinet as we speak. Maybe I'm waiting for some sort of message of the big news, the big announcement. I'd like to now bring into the conversation Christian Bugelsheim. He's from the Austrian, I'm sorry, not Australian, Austrian Chamber of Commerce in Hong Kong and Macau. Christian, perhaps you want to talk about
well,
the
thank you very
hospitality
much for
industry or
calling me out
something
on
else?
the spot.
Yes, thank you.
I can really only echo of what everyone has already mentioned and said, but I really want to highlight the blue card issue, the whole process of people working, living in Macau, the blue card, the white card to permanent residency. For those people who really contribute to the society positively, that should be made significantly easier like it used to be. And what Billy just said, we do have the same problem in the hospitality industry that, for example, a waiter has a blue card to be a waiter. He cannot go and help make up rooms. A cook can only cook. He cannot help anywhere else. And if that could be simplified, that would really be a tremendous help in moving forward.
Thank you, Christian. Thank you. Still in Europe, we are joined today also by friends coming from Hong Kong. Justin Campbell, am I right? Yes. He's the chairman of Belgium Luxembourg Chamber of Commerce in Hong Kong.
Thank you. Yes.
And you would like to join the conversation and share something with us?
Sure, yes. Yeah. So I represent the Belgian and the European chambers in Hong Kong, and I hope you'll honor a question from across the bridge.
Please go ahead.
I think maybe this is for Keith, because you're speaking about it. Has there been an effort to benchmark standard tasks, so employment visa approval, a restaurant license approval against Macau's peers, so Singapore or Taiwan or Dubai, and then have a constructive conversation with the Macau government in private, or not necessarily to name and shame, but to say, here you are. And
I've got to say I'm not aware of this, and certainly I've never seen anything written about it. The nearest I saw recently was that there had been a delegation from Macau had gone to Singapore to look at transportation. So I think that as a general subject is a good idea, is to go out and see what the rest of the world is doing and then come back and turn that into best practice for Macau. And I know from my time in Singapore that they used to send, I'm talking of 25 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, but they were developing and they went around the world looking, let's look at the best airports, let's find the best practice, now look at Singapore Airport, it's one of the best in the world, and they've learnt from doing that benchmarking. So I'm sure that philosophy applied to Macau, there's nothing wrong with it, and there's a lot to be said for doing it.
In Hong Kong, we have quite a few closed-door Chatham House rule discussions with the Hong Kong government about what can be improved, and we're very honest with each other, and it doesn't leave the room, but it's helpful, and I don't assume things like that happen here. I'm not sure.
Music to my ears, Well, we did end our conversation with the CE2B that we would, as the MECC and also the national chambers, to continue working with the government on an ongoing basis. And we did have meetings in the past with different secretaries, frankly speaking, and we sort of raise our issues and they take note, and we will get back to you, and they don't. That's a fact, right? There's no need to hide it, actually, even. But yes, to the processes here are really very different from Hong Kong. Many of us, we employ people from Hong Kong, and they tell us how Hong Kong is operating, much more efficient in many ways for the administration, for licensing, for example, than in Macau. and it is not opaque. It is quite clear. In Macau, because of the way the departments operate, it's often not so clear how to get a license. So we were talking jokingly about restaurants where you see a red banner to cover the name for months and months because they're waiting for the license. But the guy who rent that place is paying the rent to the landlord, and he cannot operate. The place is fit out, ready to go. He cannot even, well, he cannot recruit staff because he doesn't have his license yet. So once you get a license, then you need to start recruiting his employees. It's another few months. So you need to have a lot of cash to open even a small shop here. And that is just poor regulation. And that can be easily fixed. As I said in the beginning, reformation has to come up first. Everything else will follow after that. And for the government to make visits to Singapore or any other place is a great idea, I think. But please take notes and have minutes and action points afterwards. Same as when we run our business, we go for a meeting, we have action points, who does what and by when. That is a good way to manage maybe a region as well.
A good point. Thank you, and thank you, Justin, for coming over from Hong Kong. It's important to have the perspective from the other SAR, so we can actually certainly move forward in this respect. Broadening the conversation, I can see Maria João Gregorio over there to join the conversation and share something. She's Vice President of the Forum of Portuguese Speaking Business Association. Entrepreneurs, I may say. So if you'd like to share some perspective and a question with our panel, please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Zé Carlos. We are a Portuguese-speaking business association, so we are mainly dealing with African countries, I would say. So for us, this issue of the talent is not a so big issue. We are more concerned with the trade policies and the entrance of products in mainland China. As you know, in Macau, there is no problem, but there is a problem in mainland China. So I think I cannot share too much about that talent issue. Despite we have some talents in our countries, our Portuguese-speaking countries. I'm excluding Carlos Alves. I'm excluding Portugal from this panel, I would say. But we don't have. We have some talents to export, but I think they are more needed in their own countries in Africa than to export them somewhere else. So for now,
any suggestion that you have for the coming administration to facilitate trade relations with the Portuguese-speaking countries?
To really put in force the role of the platform of Macau, or the role of Macau as a platform with Portuguese-speaking countries and mainland China is our main request, and easy the things. That's it.
Thank you.
So
it's one of the components of the one center, one platform, one base, right? In the overall strategy. Thank you. Running the conversation, I'd like our friends joining us here at Rui Cunha Foundation. If you have a question or any quick remark for our panel, please move forward. Don't be shy. We have room for some questions and discussion. So anyone? Christopher, please.
Hi, thank you for this. This is great. This is a general question just for the panel. For those that had the good opportunity to meet the incoming CE, Macau's unemployment is I think 2% or nearabouts, and that's a very it's a good number politically to have. How rigid is the government to maintain that number, and does that give you kind of clues on how they feel about adjusting the policies that we discussed tonight? Thank you.
Thank you, Christopher. Thank you. Anyone like to jump in? Yes.
I cannot speak for the government, but from my experience living here in Macau, it's a top priority for the government to have very low unemployment rate. That being said, I just read in the newspaper a couple of days ago that there are about 25,000 people between 23 and 45 that are not employed and not looking for a job.
500, I think.
I read 25,000. But, right, which is a bit strange. It's a bit difficult to understand how such a big amount of people is not employed and is not looking for a job. There's something that needs to be researched here to understand what's going on. It could, in part, be a consequence of the overprotection that's been happening for the last 20 years of the local population. People got used to an easy life, and somehow they're not fighting for a job anymore. There are consequences to these policies that are with very good intentions. The policy of protecting the employment of the local population is no doubt very well-intentioned, but sometimes it has negative side effects, and that could be one of them.
Thank you. It kind of resembles a bit of the Tangping issue, the lying flat phenomenon that we've witnessed, right? So more contributions, questions, remarks? Please move forward. Javier.
Hello.
Bienvenue.
Thank you. Yes, my name is Xavier. I'm from Modwise Limited. It's a data science company. I had a question on, I have been living in Macau for a few years, and then I went away. I have to say, in my field, AI, data science, and this kind of things, the world is about this right now. Okay, just except crypto, you have AI and a few things like that, and it's staggering to see that my perception is that there is not much going on in Macau in there. So I mean, if you want to attract people who are interested in doing data science or AI, yeah, that's one field that should be considered. But my question is more about what happened during the last year since COVID, or because my perception is that during COVID times, basically the economy, because no casino had business, basically, that was a really big crisis, right? So that was really the time to change things. And it seems to me that there is not much changes, or maybe I missed something since that times, or I'm totally ignorant about this, but I don't think a lot of things have changed. So first of all, am I correct? And second, if things didn't change in a period of such a crisis, how likely is it to change now when things are actually getting better in terms of economy?
Thank you, Javier. Thank you, Javier. So, I guess, over the past few years, we've noticed in some around the region, some cities that during COVID, they actually kind of seized this opportunity to do a sort of upgrade and uplift in the urban environment, technological, etc., to get the cities ready for the next level. Have we done it, and how could we catch up in this very competitive environment? Because GBA, of course, Greater Bay Area, is about cooperation. There's always competition, of course. Of course.
It's a very interesting question. Do you want to? No, I have already. So, Macau's AA rating is one of the best in the world. So I think it's ranking on the top 15. So has a fund of 60 billion US, more than 60 billion US, no debt. So I think Macau has all the conditions to put in place all the ideas that come. I think with new government, new blood, new ideas, things are going to be put in place. The central government, for sure, already did a lot of studies with the local government also. So I think in the near future we are going to have news regarding these subjects. When we are talking about this kind of crypto and so on, I think in December the government is going to announce the digital currency for Macau. So it's something that already says something about how the government wants to deal with this kind of things. In China, I think they have already an experience in many cities, in some cities at least, and they are going to put these things going on here also in in Macau. I don't know what's the range, but they are going to announce the launch. I read it in the newspaper recently.
Thank you, Carlos. Billy, please.
So, Carlos, this is not digital currency for speculation. This is for like another currency for daily use.
Central bank backed
Would there be
digital.
Would there be limitation per day, per transaction, or can you shed some light?
EMCM is going to announce it, but it's a kind of a wallet. So you have money directly with the government. It's an account that it's not with the commercial banks. It's an account that you have directly with the. It's but the government is going to announce it. So
We had, by the way, a bit of self-promotion of our magazine. In our October edition of Macau Business, we featured the IFATACA developments with an interview with the chairman of the Monetary Authority, and as Carlos was pointing out, very soon we'll learn about more details.
And let me just add regarding public service. So we have a lot of, when I go to a public service, I feel that things work. Everything is very online based, very fast. I don't know if it is because I have the position of the chairman of the chamber, but I suppose not. I'm very well, people treat me very well, and things go very fast. And regarding my industry, that is banking, so it's very easy to talk with the authorities, and it's very easy to get an answer. And we work together, all the banks, with the banking association, with the local monetary authority, and things go well. With this, I cannot say that in all the sectors, because there are many sectors on economic activity. Maybe they are not running so well. So that's it. But I cannot say in my industry that things are not going on the right direction. And this experience that they have from another. So I worked on 5 or 6 different jurisdictions in the world on the banking industry, and I cannot say that Macau, the monetary authority, doesn't work as well as on the other jurisdictions. Okay.
Yes. Yes, we can.
You are the banker, so you have good treatment, right? But how about those who lend money from your bank?
Yeah.
Are they happy in establishing their business when they borrow money from you? Do you have feedback? Is there a system that you hear their griefs or their issues?
I try to answer to all the complaints that I have. Fortunately, I don't have many, but they have email, CEO something, and I try to answer. If they have the mobile phone there, I call them directly, and the CEO is calling. Yeah, the CEO is calling.
I don't mean complain about the bank. I mean complain about their government support, and therefore they got into trouble with the bank.
I don't hear so many situations where there are big complaints, but of course, we had some measures in place where people didn't need to repay the installments. They need to repay only the interest, not the capital. And this is going to be, the end is going to be in the end of the year. But I think all the banks did the homework. They talk with the customers to understand how if they need a new reschedule of the repayments and so on. But, each bank does the job that thinks they should do. But I don't see many people complaining about this.
One reason I ask is the SMEs in Macau, as you probably know, have a lot of trouble, especially small restaurants and so on.
Yeah.
And because now the local population goes to Zhuhai often to do the shopping and dining and so forth. And apparently that many small restaurants are closing shop. I spoke to some of them also our chamber members. They said during the COVID, they got subsidy of the government. They could survive actually, even with less customers.
And now the consumption vouchers as well.
Yeah,
right?
the vouchers. So now they have to stand on their own. And they said the mainland tourist at the moment is not, even in the coffee shop. They used to have 4 people, but they buy 4 coffee.
Now they take 4
they buy
photos
1 coffee for the photo and then they go. And there's no more subsidy. So they are suffering quite seriously. So that is.
That definitely took center stage in recent months, and even during
Yeah.
some Hofai's in the platform and also the campaign, we could see the residential districts taking a bit of a center stage in the whole thing. So I guess this a lot of expectations or anxiety, I would say, in some ways with regards to what comes next for SMEs, especially these types of SMEs.
Yes.
Yes,
Can I add something regarding this? So it's a question of change. You need to adapt. Times change completely. The customers came with different, it's a different environment, and we need to change. Banking needs to change. Now we don't need so many branches. We need to be much better online. And this kind of shops, they need to adapt also. They need to adapt their business model. It's not easy, but with subsidies, I'm not sure if we go there.
Yeah.
So we really need to change. That's the big issue. And you have Taobao and you have the going north. And a lot of small companies are suffering. They need to change. They need to build a new business model. And the chief executive talk about this also. That's the trend. Yes.
Big challenge. Please, Charles.
I share very much with what Carlos has said. You know, well, as a locally born Macau person, mindset is one thing that we need to change. And you know, we're not denying the fact that it's a difficult situation after COVID, especially. You know, I never did Taobao before, but COVID, that's the only thing you could do. So, well, challenges are there. However, I think the main challenge for Macau people is another gentleman was saying that Macau has a very good, provide very good benefits for our residents or citizens, which is good and bad in many ways because, well, you learn how to rely on these benefits and you don't try enough. I mean, we're in the real world. I mean, I do factory. It's a tough playground. You know, we always do our best to survive. And I think I only speak for myself. I think the mindset is one thing that I've heard a lot of friends talking about it, and also possibly some of the personnel will be in a new leadership in Macau. And I think for banks, I'm sure this is something that impress you more, and you might be asked to help already on how to facilitate our SMEs or smaller companies to adapt to things like technologies, which can make you, well, there's a Chinese word of saying, you know, instead of giving you the fish, teaching you a way to fish, to fish. So I think it's much more realistic. And we're talking about business world, and this is what business is all about, is to find new ways to survive.
So interesting, Charles. So it's about the transition from a highly protected or more shielded set of environment into one that is, of course, more challenging and to allow these companies to walk on their feet. But striking that balance, the right mix of policies, of incentives, that's kind of the challenge, I would say. And it's got to be tackled head on today, right? Yeah. Yes. Maybe then, you know, people have to adjust and move forward, yeah.
And regulations play a role here as well, because you may have a creative idea to change your concept of the restaurant, but how long does it take before you get an approval to actually do the work? So that you know, 6 months are easily gone.
Yes.
In
of
Macau,
course.
in Hong Kong maybe 1 month, 2 weeks, I don't know. But,
Yes. And with the property prices that we still have here, it's kind of
and the
challenging.
cost of construction. I mean, Macau is a very expensive place to build as well. And Kees could probably also say so. No, we as in the hotel business, we do a lot of small projects and larger projects, and we often find that the prices are quite inflated. And that has to do with the integrated resorts who are working on a very generous budget, spoiling the budget for those less capital-rich SMEs or small properties.
Good point. Lord, please.
Apologies if this has already been discussed, because I came late, and apologies for coming late. But the integrated resorts, when the licenses were renewed, part of the expectation was there would be diversification. Macau realizes they need to diversify from one sole source of income. Has that diversification manifested itself as expected, or is it slower than expected? And if so, why?
The question. the question. of
I'm
the
sure,
please
I'm
keep
sure
going.
it's, I mean, I was going to mention that. The original question we had from the back was, COVID happened, we came out of COVID, and what changed? Nothing changed, but something changed was that in 2022, we had the new gaming concessions, and part of that was where they had to spend, the concessionaires had to spend 13.5 billion US in non-gaming. So the question there is, yes, something was done, and it was all under the banner of diversification. But the next thing is to then get a measure of, as you say, what has that, what's the effect of that? Has it happened? And I haven't really seen anything that you could say, well, we planned this, and something else has happened. So I think that's the change, and the diversification is the thing, because they recognise that in the COVID period, the economy went down, and there was no alternative. It just went down, and it lived off benefits. So I think the important thing is now to try, for the government, is to get a measure of what is happening, and also the government has to be the one that's driving it, not just leave it to the casino operators. And just the government's got to drive this to improve the thing. And you could also say, you know, there are good things that have happened, like Drive North, and you know, the immigration procedures to get into China, Henshin, is much simplified. But does anybody ever think, when they have these ideas, of what the impact is going to be? And they probably don't. And then, you know, as Rutger says, 6 months later, you're trying to get out of trouble, and things don't move fast enough. So I think that's the important thing now, is this diversification has to happen. And one of the things, another thing I would say is that, going back to Billy and his hospital, is that the one thing that's sort of disappearing is also the spoken English. And so you can have hospitals. I mean, I went somewhere last year, and I see the cardiologist, but he's Chinese, and the nurse is translating to me. So is that really what, you know, if you're trying to promote medical tourism, is that really what you want to do? No, you want to, you know, if you go to Singapore, you go to Thailand, they're all speaking perfect English. So this is going back to what you were saying, is, you know, it'd be good to benchmark, not against the rest of the world, but certainly in Asia, and see what is an offer, and what have they got and what haven't we got in Macau, and how do we lift our standards. So I think that's my comment.
Thank you very much. Before we, please, Rui, please.
To go
and
back
then
to your
Julia.
first question about what we've done right in the last 25 years, and there's one thing we still didn't talk about, which is education.
Yeah.
I grew up here in Macau, and at the end of the 1980s, studying in Macau was not an option. There was one university, and I was thinking, I didn't even think about studying Macau. It's not an option. And right now, we have about 50,000 students in the universities in Macau. Some of the universities in Macau are very well ranked in the worldwide ranking. So this is something that we did right in Macau. And since in Macau there's usually some reluctance on looking at what others are doing well, let's look at what we did well in the past. Education is clearly a good example. And the way this was done was mainly by benchmarking. benchmark what the others are doing right, what has been done best in the world. Let's try to replicate here in Macau, and let's import the best teachers to come and teach. And the result is the quality of the education we have right now in Macau. It could be even better if it was easier to get the professors to come in and get white cards instead of blue cards. Yes, but this is one example that I think we should follow. Going back to Justin's question about why don't we benchmark? Well, the chambers of commerce don't have the resources to do that. We're all living on the bare minimums. We're associations in Macau, but the government does have the funds to do that, and it's something that really has to be done. It requires a mindset change. I hope that the new government will bring that a breath of fresh air in terms of mindset of openness towards new ideas, towards what has to be changed in Macau, because a lot has to change in Macau. If we continue this way, the future is not going to be bright. I mean, we were talking this way 20 years ago and 10 years ago, and people were saying, oh yeah, but we are much more advanced than China. Well, look at China now. We don't have to worry that China is going to overtake Macau. It's already overtaken, by far, in many fields. So we need to wake up. We need to look around what China has been doing amazingly well in so many areas, learn from what has been well done, try to replicate some of that here in Macau, and benchmarking is clearly the way to go. Sorry to monopolize.
No, it's okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Billy, you want to comment on this, on education? We do. You please go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Rui is spot on about what you just said. I admire Hong Kong. I'm a Hong Kong government that had the biggest civil engineering projects at the Kai Tak airport. Now they have the biggest multi-complex for sports events and all that stuff. And we have the Macau Jockey Club closed down a while ago. I mean, the Australian firm from Brisbane, Populous, they developed that, that helped develop that particular project in Kai Tak. Rang me up and said, Billy, how can I get in touch with the Urban Development Bureau? Now, apparently there are two bureaus, passing the buck, and not us, them. So I think these sort of bureaucratic red tape, uncertainty has to be changed. So I hope the new CE would do something about it. And secondly is, I found, just look at the FDI white paper that AmCham developed by Stanford. 49% of the companies in the Guangdong, Southern China area, 49% are American companies. 9% are from Europe. Australia, probably less than 1%, because we were a teeny tiny population. But you look at the amount of foreigners doing business in China. I mean, it's staggering. I hope there's a, how you call it, a filtering, a trickle down
from Guangdong, Greater Bay Area down.
We'll be using Macau as some sort of a, I cannot kind of say base, but it could be a trickling down effect to have some of the talents flowing through here. That's a plus for us. So it's not entirely pessimistic.
Thank you, Billy. And Charles, telling you about, in terms of the magnitude of FDI, say for instance, Billy was talking about a US FDI in Guangdong. And how do you see this kind of, like, as we move forward with Greater Bay Area integration, what would you like to see to happening in that respect?
I think, again, Macau SAR is an integral part of the one country, two systems. Mm-hmm. And an integration with the mainland is inevitable. And so we're on a ride, but also we have challenges, with all these chamber heads we're talking about just now. And what I would say, Hengqin is very important because that's the buffer zone for Macau. And also, Macau depends on Hengqin for future development. It's not a question of whether we should do it or not. We have to do it. That's the only way Macau has to survive in the next decades. So, regarding FDI, as I've learned, I believe that, just I've just commented on the first question. We're trying to explain to the government that the U.S. firms here, with probably the biggest stakeholder here for the industry at this moment, could be more involved in attracting foreign direct investment into Macau, to Hengqin, especially in industries which is related to the integrated results, which I've made some examples already previously. And as I gave an example, Boeing was quite eager to see what they could do to transport people around and with the GBA and also to Macau, and which definitely would benefit for businesses and the further development of the integrated resorts. But again, back to a question to one of the gentlemen here just now. It's not an easy path to diversify, especially for Macau, because gaming is easy money.
Yes.
So, and for Macau, we all know that. I think good thing is we recognize it, that it's not easy. And I think to be real realistic, again, I'm a factory guy. Being really realistic is what we have, and on top of that, what we can develop. I think it's good to have the other four, 1 plus 4. As Carlos said, it's very important. I agree to it. However, I think we have to put more weight on the 1 and to spread it into the 0.5 or the other one.
Would you, Charles, if I may jump in, would you agree with those who say that, well, in this 1 plus 4 mantra, there's another key concept, which is tourism plus, which is like stemming from the 1, an expanded 1. Do you see this as, like, of course, it's developing, it's taking shape with all sorts of initiatives by the government and having the integrated resorts actually proactively being a player in the tourism plus process? Do you see that taking shape?
I do see that. I mean, one thing that I would like to share with the gentleman from the Canadian Chamber of Commerce was that expats are actually coming back based on dialogue that within our members, specifically the 3 company heads for the U.S. investment here, not very fast, but people are coming back, especially in the senior management. And to no surprise, it's not only on gaming, but on things like entertainment. People who know how to operate concerts correctly, and on sports, on many things which, yes, is gaming driven, definitely. So again, it's sort of in numbers, but it's not the real thing yet. But if you don't have the platform, you don't have the foundation, we can't move ahead. And again, to be realistic, we still depend on that 1 very much. And from my picture, I hope that we definitely have to strengthen the 1 and gradually spread it to the 0.5 or to the other one, which I'm sure it's responded by MICE and sports also. We have a lot of great games coming up.
Yeah, I agree. It does have. It's going to come from the integrated resort industry. But my question was, is it happening as expected?
From my perspective, yes. I mean, first of all, we have to have the base, which is a tourist. This is a reality that Macau is facing. Tourism is the most important industry that we have so far. And after COVID, what we need is people. Yes, those people might not spend as much before, but that's the base that we need.
But is the diversification of the tourist population being promoted? Right now, most of the tourists are from mainland China. Is there a plan for that to diversification of attracting tourists from Korea, from Japan, from North America, from Australia? Where's the plan for that?
Yes, well, I believe all our members, especially the IRRs and my company also, Macau Beer, we've been participating a lot of promotion in overseas, in Korea and Japan, Singapore, you name it, to promote Macau, and also definitely not promoting gaming, which we already have. It's a sure thing. But on our other offers to tourists, such as our heritage, and also, you know, the whole industry changed a lot from Macau, and people come here for leisure, and we could see the trend. You know, to just answer you directly, have things been changing? I personally think yes, very positive. Things are changing to the direction that we want. Yes, but fast enough? No. We can always do better.
Thank you very much. Yes, please, I guess Carlos and Rutger and Carlos. Carlos, if I...
Related with this subject, I think we have recently news that can help a lot. There's diversification of the tourists. That is the works that started on the airport. So Porto is a small city. Is the second city in Portugal. With the new airport there, and with companies going, air flight companies arriving there, so EasyJet and the others, Ryanair and so on. Now Porto has 15 million tourists per year. I suppose that in the past they had 1 million or 2 million. So I think Macau, with the works they are doing on the airport, more direct flights will come for sure, and this can be a game changer also for changing the tourists in the city.
Actually, we've seen in terms of infrastructure in recent months a lot of action in terms of inaugurations and some of the works that have been dragging on for quite some time, seeing the light of day, right? So it's an interesting development. Carlos, before I pass the microphone to Rutger, BNU has an operation in Hangzhou, and you've been focusing and addressing and looking with a close eye on the developments in Hangzhou. How do you project what's coming next? Because when you look ahead, that definitely will take center stage, right?
Yeah.
In the long term or in the mid-term, how do you see things?
You know, the future of VNU, I think, is through Hangzhou, for sure. Hangzhou is going to have much more population than Macau in the future. So we are already working with an external consultant to show us and to give us some help about the future. I think can be the next step is to do more business there. We have already a branch in Hangzhou, but for sure we need to have a retail operation there. When? I don't know. And this can be a step to do more business in the future in the Great Bay Area. If we stay only in Macau, BNU is going to be a very, very small operation for sure in the future. But we need more people, as I said. Of course.
Rutger, Hangzhou, Chuntag Holdings, Artisan, Habitat. You can share something with. And anything else you'd like to add on the conversation and your vision for what's coming next.
There's an expert on the Hangzhou scene right there.
That's what I'm getting. I'm getting into bringing Matthew into the conversation.
Maybe
but please go ahead.
So, as I said earlier on, I think the integration of Hangzhou should really should be at a faster pace. I think things are happening on an almost weekly basis. There is something positive happening, but we all know it. Sooner or later, Hangzhou will be together with Macau. That's a fact. So today you already see that many universities that have land in Hangzhou. The airport bought some land just the other day, and there are more universities going in Hangzhou as well. So everyone is buying land there, and it's funded by the Macau government, the universities at least. And so I think it's just waiting for the moment that Beijing will put the button, the poof. From today, every tourist want to come to Macau, there's the door, Hangzhou Cotai door. It's a matter of time that maybe only local people can have an option to go to Gongbei. I mean, this is very extreme now, but this is going to happen. Why else would the government build an immigration hall that can handle over 80 million visitors per year? It's enormous, right? The infrastructure of Hangzhou is just wow. It's magnificent. It's not built for what it is today. Today I like to go to Hangzhou border because it's quiet. wait for that button to be pushed. It will be the other way around, but it will be much more efficient. And it is a fantastic immigration hall, by the way. It is high ceiling, space, you can breathe, there's air conditioning. opposite. No, you don't have the people pulling the trolley across with whatever they buy. Sorry.
But in that respect, having, of course, mobility of
Yeah.
people, of tourists, of course, this is brings a lot of convenience and advantages, but it's not
Yeah.
necessarily a win-win situation. It might end up being, to some extent, a zero-sum game. At least that's a concern from some people here, right?
So at the moment, I think it's still slow. We have a hotel right across the border, and almost say the business is better than we expected for the first year so far. But we also thought we could do a lot better. And as you may know, there's a shopping mall beneath, a huge one, and it's not easy to find the tenants to rent that place. So that is still, everyone is still waiting for things to get better, right? For that button, yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry, Matthew. I mean, I had to. This is all, laying the ground for bringing you into the conversation.
No, I want to hear from the people who are actually doing it on the ground in Hangshin. Rutger, following what you say, if this idea that Hangshin will add maybe tens of thousands, maybe more hotel rooms to Cotai Strip's inventory after visa changes, what does this mean to GGR in future years, gross gaming revenue? What does it mean to Macau's annual visitation numbers? How soon will we see Macau be the highest GDP per capita in the world? And is there awareness of your colleagues in the hospitality and gaming industry of these changes?
Many questions.
Yeah.
Pick one. Pick one.
I think first of all, I think the gaming actually revenue would go up because Hengqin and Macau, you can consider it as one. Maybe we should not look at how many visitors does Macau have, but how many visitors do we have for Macau and Hengqin? Put it together. There's an enormous, Ocean Kingdom is right there, and they did like 30, 40 million visitors, and no one knows it. No one knows it here, but it is enormous how big and how successful it is. And there will be more coming up. Hengqin is 105 square kilometers, a lot of development, and also a harbor, a port is coming up there. So I think looking forward, Hengqin, Macau just be one region. Maybe that canal in between, we could just dump it and fill it up. Why not? That's going to happen as the next chapter, I guess.
And Matthew knows something.
So the hotel. Okay, talk about hotels. That's going to be interesting because Macau is expensive and Hengqin is a lot cheaper. Macau is expensive because the casinos, as you know not everyone may know how it works, but they're not going to do that secret there. So the rates are quite high, but the operation costs in Hengqin are much lower than operating a hotel in Macau. So the prices can be lower and you still make a profit.
And a freer labor market.
Yeah, but it's all Chinese. There's no international flavor in Hengqin.
Right.
So people come to Macau. I think we mentioned about the language. It's very important. Even the Chinese tourists, they like to see, international employees. They like to see Indonesians, Filipinos, Dutch, and Austrians, whatever, to be there and with them, because that creates an international flavor. Macau is a European conclave in China. So we need to keep that European flavor going, otherwise it's no more Macau.
And economically, Carlos Alvarez, after Macau's coming merger with Hangshin and after the absorption of Hangshin's economy by Macau and Hangshin taxes going to the Macau government, after that merger is complete, how big will the Macau economy be?
You have this
Well, actually,
amazing question that you are doing.
Yes. Well, actually, this it touches on my last question, which would be, where do you see Macau in 25 years? Like Macau SAR at 50.
You have these comparisons with the Great Bay Areas around the world. So I think this Great Bay Area, this Macau Hengqin is going to have a bigger piece of the pie around the Great Bay Area for sure, because it's not going to be 1 plus 1 is 2. 1 plus 1 is going to be 3 or 4, because it's a different reality. Maybe it's going to take maybe 10 years or 15 years, but it's going to happen for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Martin. There are some speculations with regards to what the expected visit by Xi Jinping will bring us in terms of some policies related to all these conversations?
We are very excited about it.
Yes. Thank you. So actually, this brings me to the conclusion, to the concluding remarks and the concluding question of our panel, which, as I was talking about, where do you see Macau SAR at 50, meaning 25 years' time? I mean, you know, it would be amazing that we could hold this very same panel. You know, we never know.
Jose, I'm positive.
Yeah.
For sure, I'm positive. We have this international flavor here. We are a different city from the others. I think we have this. Macau has no debt, AA rating, so we have all the tools to do something better than the others, and I'm really positive about it. Yeah. So I expect that the future is going to be a smiley future for those that are here in Macau and in Hengqin, for sure.
Thank you. Rui, the coming quarter century, once we reach the 2049 milestone?
I think Macau has great potential. I don't know what's going to happen in 25 years, but I know that we have the potential to be great. As long as we open our eyes while we still have time and we take the right decisions regarding labor, regarding some of the things we've been talking here, making it easier for foreign direct investment, making it easier for companies to be set up here in Macau and then go open a branch in Hengqin, and taking advantage of all the space that's available there, all the amazing infrastructure that's already been built. If we take the right decisions now, we could be looking at a very, very bright future, and maybe in the future be #1 GDP per capita instead of #2. Who knows?
Thank you. And also that people can actually feel the GDP per capita in their daily lives and in their pocket. Go ahead.
Well, Macau will be then the world center of tourism and leisure. And that is Macau, while Hengqin, the district Hengqin at that time, will be the 4 of the 1+4. Because Macau itself may not have the 4. Maybe 3, maybe, you know, the 4 is, you know what is the 4, right? So one of the 4 is actually the tourism plus. Make it complicated. But one of the 4 is the tourism plus. Tourism plus is the culture, the sport, the concerts, the MICE, and that is actually one of the 4 points of 1+4, right?
Correct.
So that tourism plus is Macau. The +4 is going to be Hengqin. That's my prediction, right? Maybe 25 years we make a bet.
Yes.
And see what comes out. So this will be, and anyway, 25 years from now, we are fully integrated into mainland China. Maybe no longer an SAR.
Or maybe a Macau Hengqin SAR.
And we use RMB here.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay. Thank you. EU1, right? Or
EU1, yeah.
Thank you, Rutger. Keith, 2049?
Yeah, I think touching on what Rutger's just said, because I've got no basis to say it, but I could
like
see...
a gut feeling, or...?
No, I could see that the border disappears. But I don't know if it's, you know, if it can do from a legal point of view, but I can see it practically happening, that the population at the moment is 700,000, you know. It's a town, really, compared to what's on in China. So could the border go, and it just becomes, and we're talking of the GBA, so we're talking about integration. So 25 years, a lot could happen, and that could be one of the things I think. I don't know if it's, you know, I don't know if it's feasible, but I could see it happening.
Thank you, Keith.
Maybe if it's not 25, it's 50. But I think one day it will happen.
Billy, your take on?
24. I'm 64 this year. Never in my wildest dream I'd be singing that Beatles song.
Yeah.
Anyway, I spoke to Brian Kalicki, the former state treasurer of Nevada and the governor of Nevada, in a desert, you know, like Las Vegas. Their conference business, just conference meetings, is, according to his statistics, is 3-4 times larger than the gaming business. And we have all these facilities here, and we want good quality conferences. I can see that would happen here. And may not be like AES, but we have all these amazing high tech in Shenzhen and all this amazing stuff in Greater Bay Area that can easily filter through and make Macau a place as a showcase. And it's neutral, and it's got all the bells and whistles, and then you can attract all the amazing people coming to Macau. Just to give you a little news that I'm not supposed to tell, but next year.
That's what we want to hear, right?
In November,
Yeah. Spill the beans.
I am organizing the biggest surgical conference here in Macau. I'm imagining bringing 300 surgeons, top surgeons from Asia, everywhere, including Portugal, of course, and bring a few of them, Australia, and the UK, so to make this place a hub for surgical training and bringing quality conference instead of those pretend conferences. We have many of them here. You go to those breakout sessions and nobody there. It's just a sign with nothing there. So I want to see that will happen one day in Macau. It will be a great place for having meetings and conferences.
Thank you. Charles, when you look at what lies ahead, is it something like making Macau Greater Bay Area? I did not use the word again.
Okay.
It's another approach to MAGA, right?
I'm 56. I still have a good chance
Yes.
of hitting that 25 thing. I mean, what Billy have just said is really hitting to my heart. I think we've been doing a lot of gaming driven, but a lot of shows of mice which might not have the right demand for it. But doing something that we actually has a demand in the society or in the business, I think is a really good thing. And again, if Jose, you're talking about 25 years later, so we have to talk about the big umbrella. I personally think China is adamant on keeping this one country, two systems.
Beyond 2049?
I think so. It has been mentioned already.
Yes.
Yeah. Didn't anticipate any changes with the framework. And if you think about it, Macau, if we're still doing gaming, which we translate into another word, leisure, right? It's more like Vegas. So if we keep gaming, then we have to be in a one country two system umbrella. So in this way, in this sense, I trust that Macau is on the right track. But again, we might not on the fast track. There are still a lot of things that we need to do. And also, I'm quite impressed with our panel today, that we've been sharing a lot of good stuff and problems of Macau. And I sure think that I share with you that I think the CE-elect, Mr. Siam, he likes to listen, and he's a very good listener. So I think for international chambers, we should put up all these proposals, not only face-to-face, but also on paper, to share with him constantly.
Yes.
Exactly. So it's good to do this.
It's a great conclusion. Thank you very much, Charles. Thank you so much. And this brings us to the wrap up of our session. I'm short of words. I don't know how to explain my gratitude to all of you, our great friends from the Chambers of Commerce. I'd like to thank you very much, Charles Choi, Billy Chan, Keith, Rutger, Rui, Carlos, for joining us, all the friends from the other chambers who kindly joined us, from the Irish Chamber, from the Canadian Chamber, from the Austrian Chamber, from the Belgian and Luxembourg Chamber, and other representatives, and all of you who joined us here at the Rui Cunha Foundation. Truly meaningful. This is no ordinary roundtable. It is actually taking place at a key juncture for the Macau SAR. We are less than 1 month away from celebrating the 25th anniversary, also seeing the new administration taking office, and there's a lot of stories to talk about, and these are, I believe that many people who've been watching us here or via Facebook or later on in our YouTube platforms of MBTV will certainly have plenty of food for thought for the future development of Macau. big thanks. Thank you very, very much. And I'd like to thank, of course, as always, our great partners, Rui Cunha Foundation, an amazing team who's been supporting us tirelessly over these years of this cooperation and partnership. Thank you very, very much, Rui and Filipe and the whole team behind this event, this very important undertaking. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you for putting it together.
Thank you.
Lovely.
Thank you.